There are moments in life when heaven pauses, waiting to see how you will respond. You may think this is just another ordinary day, but it's not. This is a moment of divine interruption, a call for those who are chosen. Not chosen because you're better than others, but chosen because there's something inside you that cannot die. There's a purpose that refuses to be buried. You've been feeling it for a long time. That stirring, that discomfort, that holy restlessness that keeps you awake at night. You've tried to silence it, tried to ignore it, tried to blend in with the crowd. But destiny has a voice that cannot be muted. It calls you again and again. You were not made for average. You were not made to disappear among the ordinary. When purpose calls, it doesn't knock softly. It thunders in the quiet spaces of your soul. It interrupts your routines, your comfort, and your carefully planned life. The divine call doesn't ask for your permission, it demands your attention. But many chosen ones ignore it because it doesn't come wrapped in convenience. It comes wrapped in challenge. You tell yourself you'll answer later, when things are easier, when you're stronger, when you're ready. But what you don't realize is that delay becomes disobedience, and disobedience becomes regret. The most painful kind of regret is not about what you did, it's about what you were meant to do and never did. There are people walking through life with silent frustration because they know deep down that they were called to more. They traded destiny for comfort, calling for convenience. They heard the whisper of heaven but silenced it with busyness. They convinced themselves that ignoring the voice would make it go away, but it doesn't. Purpose never stops calling, it only gets heavier when you resist it. You might succeed in other areas of life, gain wealth, recognition, or comfort, but inside, something will always be missing. The soul knows when it is living beneath its assignment. You can pretend to be satisfied for a season, but every time you see someone living courageously in their calling, something inside you stirs. That's not envy, it's conviction. It's a reminder from God that you were designed for something eternal. There's a reason you feel restless even when things are going well. It's not that you're ungrateful, it's that your spirit remembers what you were created to do. And until you move in that direction, no achievement will ever feel enough. Divine calling is not a suggestion, it's an instruction written into the fabric of your being. Ignoring it doesn't erase it, it only delays what heaven intended to release through you. You cannot run from what was placed inside you before you were born. You can distract yourself, but the call will always return, louder and clearer. Each time you ignore it, something in you grows quieter. Not because purpose leaves, but because your sensitivity weakens. That is how regret begins, not in one big moment of failure, but in a series of small decisions to say, not now. The danger of ignoring your calling is not just what you lose, but what others lose because of your silence. Someone's hope, someone's healing, someone's breakthrough might be tied to your obedience. When you turn away, you don't just walk away from your future, you walk away from the impact you were born to create. The world doesn't need another comfortable person, it needs a committed one. The chosen don't fit in because they were never meant to. The chosen carry weight because they carry purpose. Every ignored calling adds another brick to the wall between you and fulfillment, and one day, when you look back, you will realize the cost of silence was greater than the cost of obedience. Purpose doesn't arrive in moments of peace, it arrives in moments of tension. Before it directs you, it disturbs you. It shakes your routines, challenges your plans, and unsettles the places you once felt safe in. That inner unease you feel isn't confusion, it's divine disruption. It's heaven's way of waking you up to the reality that you've outgrown where you are. You begin to notice that the things which once satisfied you no longer do. The conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. The ambitions that once drove you now seem too small. This disturbance is not a curse, it's an invitation to rise to a higher level of purpose. When you are chosen, peace in the wrong place becomes dangerous. The spirit within you refuses to rest in mediocrity because it was designed for greatness. That restlessness you feel at night, that quiet dissatisfaction even when life seems fine, is the signal that you're being called into more. Most people mistake it for unhappiness, but it's not unhappiness, it's transition. It's heaven preparing you to leave what's comfortable and step into what's necessary. Before God positions you, He disrupts you. Before He directs you, He makes sure you can no longer stay where you are. Many try to pray the discomfort away, not realizing it's an answer to prayer. You asked for growth, and God sent disturbance. You asked for clarity, and He broke your routine. You asked for direction, and He unsettled your peace. Because if you stayed too comfortable, you would never move. Growth and peace cannot exist in the same space when transformation is required. You must learn to recognize divine discomfort as a sign of progress, not punishment. There is a sacred tension that comes before purpose manifests. You feel caught between two worlds, the life you know and the one you're being called into. The bridge between them is often paved with confusion, loneliness, and divine silence. But it's in that silence that direction begins to form. Heaven speaks clearest when you've been stripped of every distraction. The unease you carry is not a sign of being lost, it's a sign of being led. It means heaven is rearranging your environment to match your assignment. Before purpose gives you clarity, it tests your capacity. It will see if you can trust God when you can't trace Him. It will ask if you can keep walking when you don't understand why the ground beneath you is shifting. It's easy to have faith when everything is calm, but the true test of the chosen comes when the storm arrives without warning. That's when purpose begins to direct you, not through comfort, but through conviction. The disturbance forces you to question, to pray, to seek, and ultimately to obey. Every great destiny begins with discomfort, because discomfort is the birthplace of direction. What feels like chaos is often divine construction, shaping you for the assignment you were chosen to carry. Obedience is the language that heaven understands. It is the proof that you trust what God said more than what you see. When you are chosen, you cannot afford to delay obedience. Destiny doesn't wait for you to feel ready, it waits for your response. Many people spend years praying for direction when heaven is waiting for a simple yes. The chosen are not those who know everything, but those who obey even when they understand nothing. It's in obedience that revelation unfolds, not before it. When you take the first step, the next one appears. Purpose is never revealed in full view, it's revealed through faithful movement. There is a difference between knowing your calling and walking in it. Knowing brings awareness, obedience brings manifestation. You can't claim to believe in divine purpose while ignoring divine instruction. Every time you postpone obedience, you delay your own breakthrough. Heaven moves at the speed of your yes. When you respond, doors begin to align, people begin to appear, and opportunities begin to unfold. But when you hesitate, everything that was waiting on your obedience remains locked. God doesn't need your ability as much as He needs your availability. The moment you obey, His power meets your weakness. Obedience is rarely convenient. It will ask you to walk away from places that no longer fit your calling. It will require you to let go of relationships that keep you small. It may demand that you take risks others don't understand. But that is the cost of being chosen. The chosen are tested through their willingness to move when logic says stay, to speak when silence feels safer, and to trust when nothing makes sense. Obedience will often make you look foolish to those who don't hear what you hear. Yet what looks foolish in the eyes of men often carries the wisdom of heaven. The measure of your faith is not in your words, but in your actions. You can't declare that you believe while remaining still. Faith without obedience is just admiration. Many admire purpose but never activate it because they fear losing control. But obedience demands surrender. It demands that you let go of your plan to make room for God's plan. The moment you surrender, heaven begins to operate on your behalf. The peace that follows obedience cannot be found anywhere else, because obedience aligns you with the rhythm of divine timing. Every chosen one must learn that obedience is not a one-time act but a lifestyle. Each season will require a new yes. You may have obeyed once, but new instructions will always follow. Every promotion in purpose comes with a test of obedience. The higher you go, the deeper your surrender must be. The more influence you carry, the greater your accountability to respond quickly. The chosen cannot afford selective obedience, because partial obedience is still disobedience. Every act of obedience builds momentum in the spirit, and that momentum moves you closer to the fullness of what you were created to do. Fear is the most subtle and destructive enemy of purpose. It disguises itself as wisdom, caution, or timing, but beneath every excuse it whispers the same message: stay where you are. Fear convinces you that safety is success and comfort is calling, but in truth, fear is a thief dressed as logic. It steals opportunities before they even reach your hands. It paralyzes vision, silences conviction, and kills the courage that purpose demands. When you allow fear to dictate your decisions, you give it permission to rewrite your destiny. Every great calling will confront fear, because purpose and fear cannot coexist in the same space. One must bow to the other. Fear always shows up at the doorway of destiny. The moment you are closest to breakthrough, fear's voice grows the loudest. It will remind you of every failure, every insecurity, and every reason you're unqualified. It will exaggerate the risk and minimize your faith. But fear is not proof that you are unprepared, it is proof that you are close. The presence of fear means there's something valuable on the other side. If fear had nothing to lose, it wouldn't fight so hard to keep you still. The chosen must learn to move even while afraid, because courage is not the absence of fear but the decision to move through it. The tragedy of many gifted people is that they mistake fear for discernment. They say they are waiting on the right time when in truth they are waiting for the fear to leave. But fear doesn't leave, it loses power only when you move. Action is the antidote to fear. The moment you take a step, its grip weakens. The moment you speak, its silence breaks. You cannot pray fear away while standing still, you overcome it by advancing in faith. Every step of obedience sends a message to heaven that you trust the promise more than the pain. Fear often uses the voice of others to validate its hold. It will speak through opinions, criticism, or the comfort of people who prefer you unchanged. But purpose demands separation. You cannot fear losing people and fulfill your assignment at the same time. The chosen walk a narrow road, one that fear tries to block with illusions of failure. Yet what fear doesn't tell you is that the cost of staying safe is far greater than the cost of stepping out. The pain of regret always outweighs the risk of obedience. When fear controls your choices, it doesn't just stop you from moving forward, it changes who you become. You start shrinking to fit environments that cannot hold your potential. You silence your voice to keep others comfortable. You avoid opportunities because they expose your insecurities. But the truth is, fear only has as much authority as you give it. The moment you decide to trust God completely, fear loses its power. Every chosen person must learn to confront fear head-on, to stand in faith even when trembling, and to believe that divine purpose is always worth the risk. When you are chosen, your purpose is never isolated. It's not just about your success, your dreams, or your personal fulfillment. It is connected to generations you may never meet, people you may never see, and lives that depend on your obedience. Every divine assignment carries a ripple effect. The moment you say yes to your calling, you set in motion a chain of influence that stretches far beyond your lifetime. You are not just answering for yourself, you are unlocking doors for others who are waiting on your courage. The chosen are never called for themselves alone, they are chosen to become vessels of transformation. There are people in pain right now who will find healing through your obedience. There are those in confusion who will find clarity through your story. There are hearts waiting for your words, systems waiting for your innovation, and generations waiting for the example you will set. This is why the weight of purpose feels so heavy. It's not about you. You carry the future of others within you. Heaven entrusted you with an assignment that impacts destiny beyond your own lifetime. The world doesn't just need what you can do, it needs who you can become when you fully surrender to your calling. When you delay obedience, you delay the deliverance of others. What you refuse to build, someone else cannot stand on. What you refuse to speak, someone else may never hear. This is why the chosen cannot afford to be casual with purpose. The call on your life is connected to someone else's breakthrough. You may not know their name, but your obedience is writing their freedom. Your choices today are shaping stories that will unfold long after you're gone. Legacy is not built by intention, it is built by obedience. Every time you respond to God's prompting, you add another brick to the foundation of something eternal. There are generations behind you waiting for your yes. Some will call you ancestor, others will call you inspiration, but all will benefit from your courage. Your faith becomes their starting point. Your discipline becomes their inheritance. Your vision becomes their opportunity. That's why purpose can't be selfish, it was never meant to stop with you. The chosen carry seeds, not trophies. What you plant in obedience will become fruit for others to eat. You are the bridge between what was and what can be. If you stay silent, entire generations may remain stuck in patterns you were sent to break. If you keep hiding, the light assigned to your name will never reach the darkness it was meant to confront. Purpose doesn't just ask you to rise, it asks you to carry others with you. Every sacrifice you make, every battle you fight, every lesson you learn becomes a map for those who will come after you. When you realize that your calling holds generational weight, fear begins to lose its hold, because you understand that your obedience is not optional, it is legacy in motion. There is a level of peace and power that only comes when you finally surrender to your divine purpose. It is a peace that cannot be imitated by success, applause, or comfort. Many chase fulfillment through achievement, but fulfillment is not found in what you accomplish, it is found in what you align with. When you step into what you were created to do, something in your spirit settles. The chaos quiets, not because life gets easier, but because your soul recognizes its rightful position. You stop fighting against what God has called you to and begin flowing with it. That alignment releases a strength you never knew you had, a confidence that doesn't depend on circumstances, and a power that cannot be shaken by opposition. When you are out of alignment with your calling, everything feels forced. You work harder but see fewer results. You move constantly but make little progress. You feel restless, unfulfilled, and drained, because purpose is the only environment where the chosen truly thrive. But when you step into obedience, everything begins to make sense. The same energy that once brought exhaustion now produces momentum. The same pressure that once broke you now refines you. Power begins to flow where there was once resistance, and peace begins to reign where there was once confusion. True power is not in control, it is in surrender. The chosen understand that yielding to divine direction doesn't make them weak, it makes them unstoppable. Because when you are aligned with heaven, everything you touch carries divine backing. The doors that refused to open before begin to respond to your presence. The favor that once seemed distant begins to find you. The storms that once overwhelmed you become stepping stones. That is what happens when obedience connects you to your purpose. Peace becomes your foundation, and power becomes your language. Peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the presence of clarity. When you finally accept your calling, you stop trying to explain yourself to people who don't understand you. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop chasing what you were never meant to have. You begin to walk with quiet assurance, knowing that even your pain has purpose. That kind of peace cannot be imitated or taken away, it is divine stability. And from that peace flows power, because when your heart is settled, your actions become fearless. Power without peace is dangerous, but peace without purpose is empty. You were not called just to survive, you were called to operate from a place of divine authority. The world responds differently to someone who knows who they are and why they're here. That's why every battle, every delay, every heartbreak was training you to walk in alignment. The moment you say yes to your assignment, heaven releases everything you need to fulfill it. Obedience positions you under divine flow, where peace guards your heart and power fuels your mission.